All around the lake stand the ruined houses of AIDS victims, victims as much of culture as disease. In addition to the widespread practice of polygamy, with some men marrying as many as 6 wives, local culture dictates that when a man dies, a close member of his family should inherit his wife.
This is the grave for my co-wife, who died in the year 2002. And this is the grave for my husband. He was positive. Yeah, he had AIDS. And later on, my co-wife also died. And the same thing, the same disease.
Margaret's husband died in 1997, leaving her alone with 6 children. But she thanks her Christian faith for giving her the courage to resist the social pressure to be inherited by her husband's brother.
And because me, myself, am saved, I decided not to be inherited. And you know, when you are not inherited, and like my community, they cannot like me because they think I'm going against their customary. But you can stand by yourself and say, you are a Christian, you cannot accept to be inherited. And that is what happened to myself. But my co-wife accepted to be inherited, and maybe that is why she's no longer with us.
Margaret now looks after not only her own children, but those of her co-wife as well. It is a fate shared by many of her neighbors, who often call on Margaret for support.
Her husband is the one who inherited my co-wife, and later on he also died. So she's also a widow now.
Margaret is herself HIV positive, and it is thanks to her enlightened attitude as well as the antiretroviral drugs that she takes that she is still alive. Everywhere there is evidence of the ignorance that prevails throughout much of the community. Mark Onyango is the assistant chief of Ndeda Island.
So this is the home of the Mr. Jojo Sindo, who died with his wives. This one home, one house, and here are the children and their grandmother. Here is Margareta Diambo Sindo with her grandchildren who left when the whole family died. And the girl here is cooking for the children in the home. Yes.
No adults?
No adult. No adult.
Responsibility for this young family now falls on the shoulders of 14-year-old Beatrice, who since her parents died has been forced to drop in and out of school as she struggles to look after her siblings. Today, lunch for one must be shared by 6.
Nutu atuoya bas uru ko gikar tone to nyiso mam magere nien odhi to AIDS ma en godo seche moko nindo kech seche moko kadhi kadina mabira thalo kadhi uso eka wachiem ka onge to wanindo kech wanyalo kata nindo kech kanyoka mwamadho kwa moge od ng'ato.
Beatrice tries to meet their needs with the little money she earns for smoking fish. But this puts her in daily contact with fishermen and leaves her vulnerable to the Jaboya system. Lazarus Ouma is an AIDS awareness campaigner who travels the beaches and islands trying to hammer home the message of prevention. But many people still deny the existence of HIV, believing the disease to be a curse visited on those people who break customary law. Lazarus's message often falls on deaf ears, except for an occasional moment of humor.
You cannot get a poor man struggling for a transport, going to Bondo to and fro, simply for the test. Now, she or he will just stay here, not knowing the health status, simply because we are far away from the hospital. So they still go on doing their sexual immoralities without any preventive measures, because they think they are okay. So the spread still goes on because they are not aware.
Indeed, the only time that most HIV-infected people make it from the beach to the nearby town of Bondo comes when they arrive at the mortuary. All these women have lost their husbands. All of them are HIV positive. Perhaps the only winners of this tragedy are the mortuary owners. This man is a nurse by trade, but is working after hours at the family mortuary because of the sheer number of bodies they are receiving.
Okay, apparently we have 11 bodies, and most of the bodies that we are seeing here, they are people who have died of HIV/AIDS. And day in, day out, people come here crying of this killer disease. It's terrible. It's creating havoc in this community. Most of our people, even the homes around, they are dying of this disease. If we don't get help or we find a proper way to curb this disaster, then I think the community is going to get distinct, to say the least.
Many people here still believe AIDS is a curse, and they're right. More than 20 years after Lake Victoria was first hit with HIV, children still bury their parents. And these funerals look set to continue until the fishing community of Lake Victoria comes to realize that AIDS is a disease that can be prevented.